Happy Easter.
Happy Easter, yeah.
Happy Easter. Happy Easter, everyone.
I'm going to remove this wiggly one in a minute.
What is that?
It's a nice. It's an egg with a bunny on it. Can't you see?
It doesn't look like it looks like an egg.
It is an egg. It's a little pigeon egg, I think. I'll get rid of it.
And what is that in the foreground?
These are all our Easter eggs.
From where?
From the shop.
Oh my God!
And one of them, for some reason, I don't know why they think that's very Eastery, but it's a pig. So I honestly don't know why we've got an Easter egg looking like a pig. But
That's
I had a bacon sandwich this morning, so maybe it's reference to that.
It would not be an ad stream. I can hear myself, by the way. I think I can hear myself through my actual phone.
That's because we're
Can you still hear me? Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah, that was me. It's not gonna be a normal Anna stream. I can still hear myself. Hello. Yeah, now I can. Oh, because
It's when we have to be on mute.
It's never gonna be a normal Anna stream when you're dealing with Anna. There's always something. So, we're here today on Easter Sunday. Thank you very much, both, for coming back to discuss. Oh, you're getting ready. You're getting giddy, Graham. Discuss a TV show that the three of us have been watching. The two of us have been playing for, not the TV show, the video game for a very long time. I have an intro that I would like to play before we start talking. So if you bear with me, if it works, then it works. But if it doesn't, it doesn't. Right, I thought how's your Easter been, by the way?
Yeah, it's been nice. I had an Easter lunch with my parents and my brother and my sister and Sam as well. It's been really nice. But yeah, it's at the moment I'm obviously doing this, and I've got Sam here playing God of War Ragnarok.
Yeah, you're doing something with.
Yeah. But Sam is playing Ragnarok. So she's she's playing it on New Game Plus, so she's enjoying herself, just keeping herself entertained.
So I had an exciting day cutting the grass. My cousin came down on Friday, stayed overnight. Saturday went back, and my brother and his wife. So we had a busy Friday and Saturday. And they all complained my grass was too long, so I ended up having to cut it today. And then, but it was a beautiful sunny afternoon, so that was nice. So sat on the patio, had a cup of tea, and fell asleep. So yeah, I'm raring to go tonight.
Why is your grass not cut?
Because I haven't done it, and the guy that used to do it is gone AWOL, so I don't know where he's going. James is, we haven't seen him for a year. I think he's still alive, but you never know with James. So he's not doing the gardening as much as he used to. But anyway, my lawnmower worked, so that was good. Got it going and sorted the grass out.
Yeah, it's been a really nice day today. Actually, I went for a bit of a walk earlier, and it's been the first day in quite some time where it's actually been quite nice weather. But it's that time of year where you start getting the nice weather, and then you start thinking, "Oh, is it going to stay like this?" And then out of nowhere, there's going to be more. Apparently April's the most likely time of the year in the UK for it to snow. March, April time. So
Really? I'm
Yeah.
I'm all for this discussion about weather because you guys are British. But like I'm trying to this file. StreamYard does not want to.
Well, I was down in Morocco for a week or so, 10 days ago, and the weather just improved. At least when it gets cold over here, if we can afford to put the heating on, we can put the heating on, but they don't really have a lot of heating out there. So when it's cold, it really feels quite cold. And but in the last week, it turned to plus 25, something like that, and it was sunny, so it was really nice. And although because they're in the month of Ramadan, they didn't want to be too hot because during the day not allowed to have their drinks. I tried to observe Ramadan while I was out there, which the food is not too difficult. I think it was between about 5:30 in the morning and quarter to 7 in the evening, and I can do that without the food. But it's very difficult to not have a cup of tea every hour. I'm quite. I drink lots of tea. Well, I think we got to see your ceiling, Anna.
Yes. That's right. See my actual workers. I'm uploading the StreamYard is good for me. Right. I think it's yeah. Done. This is the weirdest stream in the history of streams. Okay, whatever. Right. So we are here again. You can just erase all of that, not to, disregard British weather in Morocco, but we're here to discuss an actual something that we are here to discuss. And I'll start with this.
There's that hospital that Firefly mentioned. This is where we get off.
We finish what we started. You're gonna make it.
The girl.
I ain't telling you shit.
Okay.
No.
I believe her.
No.
Welcome to the Fireflies. I knew her since she was born. I promised your mother I would look after her.
Where was the operating room?
Can't be for nothing.
Hello, I am Bella.
Hi, I'm Pedro.
We are from
Planet Earth. We are not sick!
This time.
No infected?
Oh, there's infected.
Call them uninfected.
You've been near infected?
There's no infected out here.
The hell there ain't.
He's Daddy, I'm Mommy, and we're all a happy family.
Can I have some?
No.
What, just to warm up?
I need to stop calling Pedro Pascal Daddy. It's becoming a problem. Yes.
Should stab you. You out of your f***ing mind? Monkeys. What the f***? What the f***?
Do you not like it?
She's infected. Over here. Joe, you gotta get up. How long have we known each other?
Right. Whoa. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah. Multiple times.
So the last time we got together was, I think it was like a month ago.
Yeah, it's been some time. Yeah.
Yeah, because there's only been 9 episodes, and I think we kind of finished our last discussion on episode 5.
We had seen 5.
Yeah, and
Graham hadn't seen
yeah,
5 though.
Graham, you haven't.
I was catching up. Yeah, I've done it all now.
Why do you say it like it was a chore? You've done it. You went through all the Atkins diet stuff.
Yeah, it was. It's a good job I was travelling because I wasn't very into Moroccan TV, so I downloaded it and watched it each evening.
Yeah, I think we ended on basically kind of giving Michael, you were pretty generous with your score. I think you gave it like a 9 out of 10. I was sort of more like 6.5, 7. Dad, you too at that point. So how did it change for you? Because for me, it really did change.
I think it's overall I enjoyed it. There's a thing about, you know, kind of like the zeitgeist of this show, like it blew up in such a way that a lot of people, like, obviously it got a lot of millions and millions of views. It became like everyone seemed to praise it. I thought it was good, but there's issues I have with it. But I think it's very much dependent on whether or not you've kind of played the games and things like that. And there's certain things that you point out and you're like, okay, they made changes they needed to make. I don't think necessarily all the changes were for the best. There's definitely some things I think we're going to get into in a bit. But overall, I enjoyed the series. I think this series could work really well. I don't know what would happen if they were to do part 2. Be interesting because that's a very different beast. But yeah, overall enjoyed it. Just but I do have some issues with it.
No way. We're like all in.
Almost. There's a few things that are. I think they're probably a bit more nitpicky things on my end. But it wasn't the best thing I've ever seen, which is what some people were kind of saying. There's definitely, you know, it's one of the better things I've watched this year, but there's still, you know, we'll get into it in a bit, I think.
Yeah.
I'll let you guys have a chance.
So what about like,
yeah, I mean, for me, because I watched them, I think I actually watched 6 or 7 before I watched 5, and it didn't seem to make any difference. I didn't see like a continuity. Each of them seemed to be a little bit of a story on their own, so you could watch them independently. And yeah, it was all right.
How did you watch again? I go through somebody's. It's not me because I've muted myself on the computer, so I can hear your speakers are coming back through StreamYard. So how did you manage to watch a couple of episodes before? How did you do that?
Well, because I'm stupid. I forgot that I'd not watched number 5, so I started at number 6, I think it was, and then watched 7, and then I realised I hadn't watched number 5, so I went back to it because I downloaded them all onto a tablet, and I was watching it that way. But it didn't really mess me up too much on the story. And okay, you get the reprise at the beginning, don't you? So they give you a couple of minutes of this is what happened last time, and I thought, oh, I must have slept through that bit. I wouldn't go out of my way to watch it again. And if there is a second series, which obviously it's set up to be one, then I'm not sure I would go to it. So there are other things I'll download and watch rather than this, I think.
So
And maybe because I didn't play the game,
Yeah, because the three of us, we all started, like, even with you, Dad, like, oh, this is exciting, this is so interesting, I want to watch it. And then kind of in the second half of the season, it, for me, it slowly with each episode just felt like something that's either, yes, like a standalone story that's not, even though I know the whole story because I played the game and I love the game, and there it's more fluid. Here it was just so fast, rushed, extreme, like shoving in characters that we love from the video game. I don't know, like, probably, Dad, you don't know this, but the lady who plays Anna, who is Ellie's mom, is actually Ellie in the video game. The guy who's the henchman to the crazy cult cannibal guy is Troy, who plays Joel in the video game. So they're shoving in all these little bits, and it kind of is like, oh my god, it's so cool seeing these actors actually on screen when you just, they're performing their motion cap and doing things with their voice. But it just felt so rushed. It felt like that whole episode that we had with Ellie in her background, military school, in her love interest, and how she got infected. It was so long again. Like, they're focusing on certain things, which I would want to see more of Joel and Ellie in their story. And so to me, that's kind of what got me into the video game and the story in the beginning. And now you have all of these little other stories being shoved in there, and it kind of just, it's like, I want to see more not zombies, infected. I want to see Joel fighting that whole sequence. Also, this is a spoiler stream, as it says, but the whole sequence, like in the video game, when he is trying to make a decision, a very important decision, which we will get to. But certain little things like that, it just felt so rushed. Michael, what do you think?
I think it comes back to how this is structured like a TV show, and the game is structured in a very particular way. For the first part of the season, you'll generally spend most of the time with Joel. Now, when you play the game, there's only like one section where you're not Joel, which is the part where he's obviously incapacitated, and you play that part as Ellie when she runs into David, and then you cut back to playing as Joel and things like that. So the way the game's structured is
we have a visitor. Hi.
Hello. The way that the game structures, because you don't deviate from what the TV show does, where it has the flashbacks with Bill, and then it has this lady and her like militia group, and then you have focus on David and his community and James and stuff like that. It's very much like very segmented, whereas the game, because you spend the entire time, it doesn't cut away pretty much from Joel. You go through this entire journey with him, and you go through it with him and Ellie, and their relationship builds very naturally through the game. But with the TV show, like you said, it's really like each episode could be its own little thing, which you kind of have to do, I understand, but at the same time, it cuts away from to these other characters that things aren't in the game. David's group isn't a cult; it's just a group of survivors, and it's just like henchmen and things like that. It's not like a commune or anything like that, or it does. He says it is, but you don't actually get to explore that. You just go through this whole story, and it's a bit more fluid and streamlined. and it kind of makes things a little bit more disjointed, and it makes things feel rushed because you then have this relationship that you had to continue to build and make sure that you get to a certain point in the story where Joel has to make a decision and things like this. I think that all contributes to it a little more, where it does feel a little bit more rushed, a little bit more disjointed. The story beats, like, I agree. The first half of the season was better when it started chopping things up a little bit more. The whole backstory of Ellie's mum, completely absent from the game. There's absolutely nothing like that indicates anything to do with how she's immune or anything like that. She's just immune. It's just taken as a fact,
So
and you know that.
like, before I get to that, like that whole situation where they inserted certain characters, voice actors from the game gives me vibes from like when I was working for a certain organization and it's like nepotism, like, well, you worked on this, but we're just gonna insert you for the sake of like for fandom because fans will love this. It's not because it makes sense for the story. It doesn't like the whole Ashley playing, Anna, Ellie's mom sequence, the way they're explaining she gives birth to her and she is bitten at the time she is giving birth, just is like great. I love Ashley. She was great as Ellie, but do you really need to insert? Do you really need to insert Troy? So it's like it's just inserting certain things for the sake of inserting them, kind of thing.
I think Troy's one was less egregious. I think him playing James's character in the game. I mean, he's in the game for a couple of minutes, but it makes sense. But it's the idea that when something, an IP or something in the mainstream media, that gets to a point where the original people that are writing on it or work on it, they start thinking grander than the self-contained story. They start thinking about the story itself, and they start thinking about the everything surrounding it outside, like the media and things like that, and the zeitgeist of which
I'm pretty upset they didn't include Nolan North in there too. I mean, he's probably upset too. But Dad, what about you? What did you like when you started watching it? You actually were really into it, and then you and I had a little sort of WhatsApp conversation. I was like, I'm not into this anymore. And you're like, yeah, I'm not feeling it too.
Yeah, I think at the start I did like it, and I like the concept of it, and obviously it's very relevant with the pandemic and all of that, and you're thinking it could have gone the other way, and what would we have been like, etc. And it was a bit, there was, as you say, the clickers and all the different people running around and the different mutations. So that was quite interesting. And then it really got a little bit more deeper meaning, I suppose. And, did we need to, I mean, I don't know the links between the characters in the game and the characters in the show, and so I get it that they're trying to link things together and make sure it gets a good audience and people see all that link. But the bit about Ellie's mum, it didn't really make a lot of sense to me until right at the end. She was born and I want you to name her Ellie, and then of course it starts to come in, and then you start thinking, well, okay, so did Ellie get her immunity because of the a little bit of blood transfusion or not? I don't know. So no, for me they were all individual stories, and the one with the cannibals, that was quite, it could be in a very straight sort of show, separate, and basically I guessed it straight away. When they couldn't have enough food, I thought, okay, they must be eating each other, and it was a bit slow for me, to be quite honest. And you made the point, Anna, a bit earlier. There wasn't as much chasing and with the mutants coming, and it was more individual humans against individual humans doing things, and how humans behave rather than trying to do what he was trying to do. But then I think I did see the relationship between him and Ellie improve, and Joel and Ellie, and then how they obviously started liking each other a bit more and respecting each other. I have to say the actor that plays Joel, he's got one face and that's it, really. He doesn't really show a lot of facial expression, does he? And I'm not a big. I know it seems silly, but I'm not a big Clint Eastwood fan, so talking like that all the time, it doesn't really get me, but maybe that's how he is and that's how he was, and so I wouldn't have said he was a very lots of expressions coming from his face, but you did occasionally see him a little bit of a smile when I think Ellie told him one of the puns or something like that, and he started to laugh about it. So it started to get the relationship between the two of them, and then we can start talking about how it ended whenever you're ready. But for me, I mean, with Ellie in the fairground with her best mate, and how she had to do things.
Right. Okay. Not that. I want to about that because this is a whole DLC content for it's a video game, and they based that whole episode on the DLC content, which is do you know what DLC is, Graham? When you have a video game? Michael, do you want to explain?
So DLC stands for downloadable content. So it's basically it's almost like serves as a extra content. So you have the main game, but you can download additional content. Sometimes it depends, varies from game to game. But in particular, in Last of Us, that whole section with Ellie and Riley, that was never included in the original game. That was released after the game, just to give a bit of more of a backstory to Ellie and kind of explain a little bit about her relationship with Riley, because you don't hear about her relationship until the very end monologue in the game. You don't know who Riley is and things like that, which
so
kind of
basically when something is successful, like you write a book and then people are like, well, I want to hear more about, I don't know, Gollum and his story or whatever. Like, let's release something that's catered to just that particular audience that wants to, but also love the book too. So we got that DLC. I think it was released a year after. It was called Left Behind, wasn't it?
It was. It wasn't. It was less than a year, because the game came out, and about a year later, the PS4 version came out, and it was before that. So it must have been about maybe 6 to 9 months after. So within a year.
And I didn't really want to play it. Like I remember when it was released, I wasn't really interested. When I did, I loved it. Thought it was really good. When I watched the episode, I just really didn't like Ellie. Like, I really felt like the way she was presenting herself and the way she was in the actual DLC content and the game, and the way Bella was portraying her was way too tough. She was just way too obnoxious, just swearing right, left, center all the time. She's beating up a girl that's who's bigger than her, and she gave her 17 stitches. Like, because it just felt over the top. Like, they're trying to hype her up to be this absolutely badass, when in the beginning episodes she's presented as somebody who is a strong character, but she's still vulnerable. And then you're taking us back to when she was in Fedra military school, and she's like Sylvester Stallone, Rambo. It just didn't feel organic, and the way she was interacting with Riley felt very forced. I really did like the actress that played Riley, by the way. I really did like her character. But Ellie in that moment just did not feel like the broken, lost, vulnerable, sensitive Ellie that was presented in a couple of the first episodes.
It's what it was similar. It's kind of what I was saying earlier, where like in that moment she was playing Ellie as we know her, not Ellie as who she was at that time in the story. It's taken like what the writers and everything have experienced Ellie over, even over the 2 games and stuff. And so, okay, well, Ellie, like, let's portray Ellie like this in this particular episode, but that's not who she is at that point in time. And it does kind of throw it off a little bit. She's a little bit more obnoxious in that episode than she is presented in that particular point in the DLC as well. And it's a little bit of bit disjointed from the actual story that it's supposed to be telling.
So on these DLCs, do you have to pay extra for these? Are they?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, well, I might not know what a DLC is, but I know what a TLA is. So, and you guys don't know what a TLA is, do you? So it's a 3-letter abbreviation. Anyway, come on, Michael. You can be a bit quicker than that. 3-letter abbreviation, TLA. So look, it's presumably they, to make a bit of money for the game, they want to get the characters. And I have to say, I'm not a big believer in swearing, etc. And Ellie sort of, she does swear a bit and goes through certain things. So if that was the way the DLC worked, then I didn't really follow it.
Going to the next get into God, what's the name of the town? Not Jacksonville. The name of the town where Joel's brother is.
It's Jackson.
Jackson.
Yeah, it's Jackson, isn't it? Yeah.
Why was I thinking Jacksonville? But like she's just swearing everywhere, like every scene. It's like Brad Pitt in every film needs to have some piece of food in his hand or mouth, and Bella Ramsey in that episode needs to curse all the time. And it's just not like, I understand you've been through something horrible, but again, you've established this character as being somebody who's extremely smart. And like, we all swear, something lands on your foot. You don't just sit there and like potty mouth this and that and that. Like, it's just it's like somebody else wrote that episode.
It's very much, it feels like at a certain point it goes beyond what the character actually is, and it goes into more caricature, and it's a bit too much. Like, Ellie does swear and things like that, but it's kind of more like a blasé, kind of more less like, the levels of respect and authority have kind of changed.
Like when Bill in Billstown, and he's like, I told you not to touch that, and she's like, well, you're stupid fucking fat ass, like she's responding to somebody being rude to her, or it's her response. She doesn't just go around like, what the fuck are you looking at? What are you? Where are you from? The project? From Ghetto Town? Why are you talking like this all of a sudden? Like, I really didn't enjoy that. It just seemed to me, and at the same time, there's a juxtaposition with Joel where now he's like, he used to be this tough guy who's got these issues. He's sensitive, yeah, and he's got a heart. And now he's like a broken dude who's just like having panic attacks. You never set this up. You never set up his character as somebody who has been through this. And all you showed in the beginning, in the first couple of episodes, is him taking pills and drinking whiskey. This is how he dealt with his trauma. And now all of a sudden he's like, like having like, oh my God, I'm going to give birth now.
Yeah, just like in the game, there's nothing like any sort of panic attacks. He's just, like a dude has a particular job to do, tries not to deal, like he just, everything is just clear cut to him. He just does what he needs to do. It doesn't, there's nothing like any signs that has panic attack. The whole discussion he has with Ellie in the last episode about the attempt he made and things like that, that's not in the game at all. And I get, we don't need to be over explained that he must have gone through something. We know that with his daughter, with Sarah. You don't need to then start having him, because that changes the character from who he is in the game. That was probably like the biggest thing that I noticed, was like in the game there's only one instance where he starts to sort of show any sort of emotion, and that's not until the second game. In the first game, he's completely like, he's just like very methodical. He does everything for a reason. He doesn't let emotions or anything get in his way until certain things, but whenever it's emotion, it's usually just almost like a hard action. Like he's made a decision. He bases his decisions on emotions, but he doesn't show them in the way that they're portrayed in the TV show.
Well, he acted very well because he didn't show a lot of emotion on his face. That's for sure.
Mom's favorite.
But it was. I mean, he basically is a killing machine, right? And he just does what he does to stay alive and then complete the job. And he takes no prisoners and doesn't get too attached to anything. So, and that's why, as it goes a little bit further along, you can see he is attached to Ellie, and obviously that bit starts to come up. And I'm not sure if that's the purpose of the game, but clearly that's what it shows in the end.
You're right. That's the whole sort of, you have the setting, but the focus of the story is somebody who was used to be just a 9-to-5 guy who had a daughter, wife dead, whatever, living, providing for his daughter and himself. Boring job. All of a sudden, the whole world collapses. He becomes somebody he never thought he would become, and then he becomes somebody who is attached to someone he never thought he would be attached to, and they develop a very special bond when neither of them thought that they would. But with Joel also, I think he like, I couldn't, I mean, apart from, no, he's my favorite video game character. Like, out of all of male video game characters, he is my favorite. And I think it's because, like Michael, you said, he's so stoic through everything he goes through until those little moments when he does break, they hit you so hard, because it's like seeing somebody who is so masculine, so committed to whatever they're doing, so driven, and when they break, that really touches you. And so that was done in such a fine way in the video game. Here, I don't know if they're trying to break him down for a reason for season 2, but he's not the same as in the first couple of episodes. He's not that Joel who, was standing up to Tess and who's like, talking down to Ellie. He's now a completely different person. And I as a viewer and a fan of the video game, I do, like, to me, as gaslighting me. I do not doing that.
So I think one of the best examples of that is, as I said, he doesn't really have that sort of like more of like a sensitive side to him until the second game, and that's years later and things like that. So it's maybe it's developed. He's reconnected with that kind of side of things years later, but in the show, when he's trying to get Tommy to take Ellie off his hands. He has that moment where he starts to have a little bit of a breakdown and things like that. He talks about his panic attacks and things like that. In the game, that moment is a lot more confrontational. He's angry at Tommy and they're fighting back and forward. They're like, no, you owe me this. Take her off my hands. You owe me big time. Sort of just, I need, take her, you go, take her, I'll go back to wherever I need to go. So it's a lot more confrontational, a lot more angry. Whereas in the show, gets more upset about it, which is completely different. I mean, it ends up in the same place where, the story continues, but it's a very different, Joel's in that moment is a very different character. And even at the end of the game, it's always very much like he expresses his emotions through confrontation and anger, which is very different to the game, because he's been in this pandemic for 20 years and he's basically been surviving and doing what he needs to do. So he's not had time to, or he's had no need to be able to express emotions in a particular way. So I think that's like where the second game then introduces that very small scene and things like that. That makes more sense when his guards come down over years and like a few years later. But it's in the show, it's kind of like it comes out of nowhere. The panic attack stuff in particular kind of comes out of nowhere. I don't understand why. No, I understand why, but it's different. I don't understand why they decided to make that choice for the character when the game did it perfectly fine the way they did it.
Yeah, I don't know, Dad. What do you think?
And we've got to find the mute button first. Well, because I don't know what the second game's all about. And
No, you don't.
Sorry?
You don't.
So it's difficult to see what he didn't seem to have a lot of emotion, and you saw a little bit occasionally where he got angry with things, and then of course when he got injured, I think he was quite worried, and when Ellie tried to, she tried to do the medicine and save him with the antibiotics, etc. So you could see maybe that changed him a little bit because he realised he's vulnerable, and then he realised that if he wasn't there, she was vulnerable. I don't really. As I say, I found him fairly emotionless, and he's just a killing machine, and he had a job to do. And then that's why I thought the last episode was a bit funny in the end, because I thought he'd done his job and he would be a bit more robust on it and just say, okay.
That's the question for I think of the year. Would you sacrifice me for the sake of humanity?
What a question. Of course not. But I wouldn't have taken you there in the first place, because what did he think? What did he think he was going to be doing? He promised to take her to get her to the people, the Fireflies, is it, or whatever it is, and but what did he really think? Did he think all they're going to do is take a pinprick of blood? Because there was that episode, I can't remember if it was a couple ahead of that, where he got bitten and she thought she could do a little self blood transfer on him, and it didn't work. So it sort of told you that her blood wasn't immune and wasn't good. So I don't know what he was thinking, to be quite honest. When he took her there, did he really think that it would just be, let's get 3 millilitres of her blood and spin out a vaccine on it? But the way he went about it, I mean, he shouldn't have ever taken her there if that was his plan.
No, but I think it's where, like you said, he's just a machine doing his job, and he's the kind of guy who starts something and he wants to finish it. And so the more he gets close, you can see Also one of the most beautiful scenes in a video game, and they recreated it perfectly with the giraffes. That's when starts to look at her. She's not just cargo. Like she already saved his life. She's sacrificed herself. She's not gonna leave him. And just that humanity in her, that sort of love. This girl grew up in a world where there's only pain and suffering, and she has this something about her that gives him hope, makes him feel alive, and you could see it. I think, contrary to what you said before, Pedro Pascal in that moment did show some emotion in his face, which I know Mom loved because she's in love with him. Don't tell her that I told you. But yeah, like I think he was just slowly coming to the realization, but he is the kind of guy. He used to be in construction. You show up for a job, you do your job, you end your shift, you go home, you sleep, you eat breakfast, you go back, do your shift. So, and now
he knew what his job was, and obviously he hadn't thought it through, because when it got to the end, he didn't want to do the job, right? And he didn't want to.
He's not the smartest, like, he's not super intelligent, and we see that set up when he's having breakfast with Sarah and Tommy in the first episode, and they don't even know where Jakarta is, that it's Indonesia. They just think, like their construction work is from Texas. So
yeah,
the way of about it, he's not gonna know. He thinks Marlene and her fireflies have these doctors, they have a cure for humanity. He's not gonna be sitting there and he's thinking about having a farm with sheep. He's not thinking.
Well, and I suppose it changed over the period while he got to know Ellie, and how he went through all these things together and got that bond. But it was, in the end, he did it for selfish reasons. He did it for himself, right? He didn't do it for Ellie. He did it for himself.
I really don't. He did it for himself. I know there's a part of him that did do it for himself, but I think also in that moment that you would do it the same thing, or Michael, you would do the same thing. So I would definitely do the same thing. There is no way in hell that my brain's gonna think, first of all, if you think about it dialectically, you're gonna open up her brain and then study it? Surely there's a different way. You have not done this before. This is an experiment. So I'm not going to sacrifice somebody I care about. Take somebody I don't care about. Like, take my neighbor. I don't care about him. Take him and do it to him. It's just the fact that.
Well, I thought there was a. But
is it worth it? Somebody just for an experiment? No.
Well, didn't they sort of say that they'd got some special consultant who knew how to take the cells out and recreate them and then plant them back? So they had a medical little bit of a plan.
Yeah, that special consultant that got shot in the face. Oh, that's really, Joel's gonna pay for that.
It's a weird situation, because it's very much an impossible thing to answer. Really, what do you do in that situation? Anyone can have an answer, and anyone can. But like, I would do this, or you believe you would do this, and then you think about, gun to your head. What do you do? And it's. I think he does do it for her, but he also. I completely do believe that there is a large percentage of what he does is selfish intent, and that's emphasized with the giraffe scene, where because even it's almost like implied that she knows that she's not coming back from this, and she says it can't all be for nothing. She needs to know that what she's done the pain, even the pain that she's caused other people through, killing other people and things like that, and the experience she's gone through, it has to result in something better. So there is a selfishness there, but people do often put themselves in more selfless situations than they're willing to put people they care about. Then people that care about you are willing to go further to make sure that you are not harmed and things like that. So it's one of those. It's what made the first game such a interesting story, and the show nails the ending monologue, because when the game came out, like it just like the TV show, Joel is talking to Ellie, and Ellie asks him outright, and he swears to her that that's what he's done is what he told her was the truth. And there's that moment where you don't know whether or not she believes it, or whether or not she's happy, or she's happy that he's taken that guilt away from her, or whether or not she actually believes it, or whether or not she doesn't.
I felt like she always knew. I felt like she always knew. I don't know why. I just got that feeling like she knew.
That's the impression I got as well.
Yeah, that's why their relationship really deteriorates. She kind of distances, because the whole thing with them is it's built on raw trust and complete transparency because of what they've been through, and him also sort of shielding her from the reality of the choice that he made kind of is, to her, feels like a betrayal. And I don't know, I feel like she always knew. Even in the TV show, when she asks him in that last scene, the way she looks at him is like, I know what you did. Like, I don't believe you, but okay, I love you enough to play into this fantasy. But
I kind of, my opinion's always been that she's she believes him enough, but with a substantial amount of doubt. I think it's somewhere between the two. I don't think she doesn't believe him outright. I don't think she thinks that he's lying, like 100%. I think she knows, she's learned by then what sort of person he is and what he's willing to do to protect people. So there's that kind of not entirely sure.
He's a horrible person. Like he's not, like, we love him as a character.
Yeah.
But he's like, there are scenes where he tortured. I can't even talk. Jesus. Where he, the scene, and it's very similar to the video game, like technique that he uses, and then him and Tommy used back in the day, where you mark a spot on the map, and if your partner in crime marks the same spot, then you're good. But they still kill the person regardless. And
yeah, I think that's right. He's not a nice guy in that sense, and he didn't worry about things. And I have to say,
sorry to interrupt you really quickly. There was a moment where, and this is where Ellie kind of is rubbing off on him a little bit, where he's going through that sequence in the hospital trying to save her, and the guy is like, please don't, I give up. And then he has a moment of hesitation, and he's sort of like, should I spare this guy? And then he's thinking, no, he's just going to pick up a gun and shoot me in the back and go after me. Hey, we got another Michael in the house. Hey, hello. Happy Easter.
Hello. It's without spoiling the second game or going into it, because that's obviously not what this conversation is.
I'm not going to play it, Michael, so you can spoil
no,
it.
but I mean, if anybody's watching or anything, it's very much the case of the people that you root for might not necessarily be the good people, and the people that you don't root for might not necessarily be bad people. And it's that fine line of where you stand on perspective and how that changes your viewpoint. And a lot of people don't like the second game. I thought it was fantastic. but there's I think that's different reasons why you don't like it. But for particular, there's a lot of people that don't like it because of certain characters in the game and things like that. But that's because it depends on what side of the fence you're on. Like, not necessarily everyone's good, and also not necessarily all those good people are like, everyone could be good and bad. It's not like it's not good and evil. That's not how humanity works. There's reasons to be like for certain people and against certain people, and it's a very grey story.
I think a certain character is pretty evil for using a golf club and doing something to Joel.
But there's certain things in your like people to focus on the characters they know, and you're like, but you take a step back and you're like, that is exactly what who is the bad guy here, and that's where that kind of comes in, because Joel is not the good guy. Well, he's the good guy. He's not a good guy.
Yeah, because we play as them, and so you need to kind of identify with them. But exactly. At the end of the day, he's not a good guy at all. Neither is Tom.
I don't think anyone in that world really is.
Marlene is a horrible person. Marlene is somebody who's a good person. Also, I want to talk about this whole idea of the Fireflies. What are they? So they're gonna come up with a cure by killing Ellie at that point. What is she? 14?
Yeah.
14. They're gonna kill a 14-year-old.
Roughly, yeah.
Yeah, and they're terrorists. They're considered to be terrorists. They blow up things. They're terrorists. So what? They're just gonna go to all of these zones and give out free cures? What is the plan?
Well, I wasn't quite sure about what the purpose of. I mean, were they doing research anyway? I mean, were they a medical centre to try and help people, or are they just waiting till Ellie? I mean, they know about Ellie, so they were just waiting for her to turn up. I mean, the whole thing was set up for this one person. I mean, it doesn't really make a lot of sense, but then, it doesn't have to, I suppose.
Well, there's Prince thing.
What do you think? Nah.
It's the evil eyes. So, I mean, what was the point? They've got a hospital that's sort of half working, half not working. They want to do a brain surgery where they may or may not have been able to save her at the end, but they pretty much realised they wouldn't save her. And but what have they been doing for the last 2 years or year and a half? I mean,
it's a good point, because I don't think they know that they might know something's happening, but whether or not there's communication issues and things like that, I don't think whether or not they know Ellie is coming. But if that's the case, then they clearly don't have the infrastructure for communication or for dispersal of this cure. They don't and if they do know that she's coming, then why pack up and leave? Make it more difficult.
Yeah, that's what I couldn't understand. It's like, it seems like there's a semi-functioning field hospital going on, and they're doing things there, but I don't know what they were doing. And then Ellie turns up, but they obviously know about Ellie somehow. They know because they've got the operation planned, and they've got the way that they think they can whatever it is, harvest the right cells, replicate it, and then presumably go around injecting it into other people and seeing if it helps. But no, I must admit I was a bit confused with that, and then for Joel to basically shoot the whole lot, and it was like okay, well that's that version to save humanity
that
gone.
Whole sequence in the game is so done so well, and in this show they did another sensitive Joel moment where he's just slow motion. It's not. I thought it was gonna be an epic shoot out, and he's gonna come out like Denzel Washington or something. And he's just doing these, like, I don't know, it just didn't feel right. Like, they're trying to soften him for some reason. Even with that sequence, it was so soft. Even though he was killing people, but I mean, that's not soft at all. But
the thing I found of that last in the game, that sequence, is after you go in and you shoot the doctors or doctor and the nurses, you take her, and then what the show doesn't show you is him escaping, which is in the game, because you have to get out of the hospital, and it's all done through like fireflies all coming in, and you see like like the hospital's completely dark, and you see the torches from their guns, and it's just like it's almost as if you don't think this is going to end well. You think that he is going to not make it out of the hospital, and it's done in such a way where it's all coming around, and he's just talking. He's trying to talk to her. She's not conscious, but he's like, we're going to get out of here and things like that. And it's done much better. Whereas the TV show kind of done to the hospital, and they just, from what I remember, he just comes out the elevator, right? Like to the garage. He doesn't. There's no like escape, like rush to like, oh shit, things have gone bad, and I need to get out of here. So he just waltzes out, kind of thing.
Yeah,
almost.
And then Arlene's like conveniently there because she was waiting in the parking lot for them the whole time because she read the script. So what actually it does happen in the video game, but she knows in the video game it's more natural because he takes a lot of time going through the different.
And there's a load of people radioing in saying he's making a run for.
He's going
whatever.
there. She's like, "Whoa, what's up? I'm here. Please don't shoot me." He shoots her, and then that's it. And then Ellie's like, what happened? Oh, I'm gonna lie to you for the rest of your life now. Okay, season 2. I didn't like. I just, and it's not even that. Like, for me, there are certain things in the show which I am so sick of Hollywood and Western film companies doing lately, is taking something that people love for what it is and trying to insert their own messaging into it. I did not want to hear about a 14-year-old in a menstrual cup. And I'm a girl. Like, I did not need to see that. That added no value whatsoever. It's just weird. To me, it's weird. Maybe I'm too traditional, but for me, it was a weird scene to include.
Oh, she's gone. Hello. I think she's coming back. Oh no, it's the other one.
There's no sound from your side. Oh, battery flat?
Yeah, your phone died. Okay, right. I'll take off here.
You have to go find a charger.
Yeah. But it's I understand, like, fair enough, it's something that's like, things like, oh, okay, that's how people work in this sort of like society and things like that, which is fine, but also at the same time, it doesn't add anything extra to the story, so why have it?
Yeah.
We already know this kind of society you're in. You don't need to drive that point with this. It is what it is. So.
There were bits in there you think, well, that was put in for just tick another box or something like that. And but going back to when Joel tells Ellie at the end, and does she believe him? I'm absolutely convinced she doesn't believe him, but she's just going to go along with it, and. She knows what she was in, and she knows she was drugged, and she knows she was in under the surgeon's knife, and here she isn't. She hasn't had an issue, so I can't imagine that because she's quite a rational person. I can't imagine she would really believe that. I mean, I'm sure she'd like to think that, but when she rationalises it, I was pretty convinced she didn't believe him.
Yeah, that was kind of like, for me. It's she wants to believe it so much that it doesn't really come up in like full world sort of thing. She'll continue to believe it and things like that. But you're right. She is very rational. She knows what it is. She knows that it can't all be for nothing. So she's already thought about the possibility that this might be the end. That's what I took from that. And also, who wakes up in the car after being drugged? And like that whole thing just doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
Actually,
I suppose it's an end. It's an ending.
Yeah. Weird.
I suppose it's a type of ending that you can expect in a series when there's going to be another part. So, sorry, Anna, are you back with your sound or?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. I don't know why I did that. You can hear us. Yeah, no, we can hear you.
Oh my God! Christ has risen.
What did you do to?
I did not. My phone died.
Yeah, but this you've got sound working on this version now.
Yeah, my phone died, but I can still hear an echo. So you're putting somebody's having oh, it's you. Well, anyway, Christ has risen. Thank you very much, Pedro Pascal. You have no facial emotions, but I still love you. Yeah, so what you were saying about Joel's decision at the end, I absolutely like. Let's all quickly agree or disagree. I agree. I think he made the right decision.
I don't think he made the right decision, but it's a decision I probably would have made. I don't know. Honestly, I'm. You'd like to think that you made the right decision and are the hero, but it depends on what you consider a hero. Do you consider saving your child a hero, or do you consider saving the world a hero? It's there's just things that. Thank God it's not real, right? I don't have to worry about that.
But it's one of these things the Irish would say, well, I wouldn't start from here. So you wouldn't want to go all the way to get to there and then not having thought it through. I mean, clearly, if they said, well, you're going to take her here, but basically we're going to kill her and then we're going to do this. And you would say, well, in that case, we're not going, But so, yeah, I'll get out answering that question because it's an impossible question. You would never let your own child.
You
go
see,
like
that's why I don't agree with both of you. I know for a fact, like if I was, take Prince. Somebody said if we open Prince's brain up, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to come up with any cure for the rest of. Don't look at me like that. The rest of feline kind, but maybe we will to save them from cat cancer or something. I'd be like, no, go find another cat. No, that's not. If I love you, that means I protect you. You are part of me. And maybe Graham, you're right. Like that's selfish in a way, but I'm fine with that.
No, I'm not saying it's the wrong thing, but that was the one thing that all through the series, he was quite happy to shoot anybody that got in his way, even when they pleaded for their mercy, and he still shot them. He had no compulsion. He was like, I'm doing a job. This is it. My delivery. I'm a DHL driver. I'm dropping off my package at the hospital, and they can do what they like. But right at the end, he decides that no, he doesn't want to, and it's because he has formed that bond, and it's not because he wants to save her. It's because he wants to have a relationship with his daughter or his surrogate daughter. All right, that's what it's about, I think. But maybe I'm seeing it from a different perspective. So.
Michael, do you want to spoil it?
No.
Oh, is this series 2 then? he cuts her brain open himself or something.
No, somebody does that to him, but never mind. Well, not that, but yes. bad things happen. Also, in terms of like video game adaptations, I know we talked about it a little bit, and I know, Dad, you're not really into that stuff, but for me, I feel like this is one of the best that I have ever seen. I'm still very like icky because it's never gonna be like the original, so I don't know how you can adapt something like even with books like Lord of the Rings, for instance, is one of my favorite books ever. And I love Tolkien. I actually went to Oxford. I even visited his grave, left him a little note on there and Elvin. But like, how do you? I don't know. Like, it's one of the best video game adaptations, but I feel like even though it was made by the people who made the video game, but still, I feel like it could have been better.
Yeah, regardless of everything we've discussed here, it's probably the best video game adaptation there's ever been. There's they did obviously they made some changes. They had to make things more palatable to a different audience type. Certain things don't work well in a TV show, that work well in a game, etc. Regardless, I think they did the very best they could, bar a few kind of creative decisions they made. But yeah, I mean, this is what the fans, I think, of the game couldn't realistically ask for anything better than what they had here. You're never going to get it perfectly. I mean, the only thing that could be perfect is just go and play the game. Like, if that's what you really want, you want to experience the story as it is in the game, just go and play the game. But the show does a very good job at not moving away from the source material too much and making sure that it did well by the fans of the game. The other day, I went to see the new Super Mario Brothers film, and
how was that?
I really enjoyed it. But people were complaining that the story plot is too thin. But it's a Mario film. Mario has always been get to the end, save the princess, defeat Bowser. Like, the thing about Mario that's made it so good over the years is that it isn't plot heavy. It is based on the gameplay and everything like that. The story's fine. It is what it is. It's like an animated film, but he's rescue. Bowser wants to marry Peach. He wants to take over the Mushroom Kingdom. That's what Mario is like. So it's like a lot of critics didn't like it from the perspective of a film, but for film like fans of games and Mario and Nintendo and stuff, it's perfectly good film. I
actually watched the new Tetris film.
I haven't seen that yet, but that's a different beast because that's like a real life.
That was interesting to see them portray the Soviet Union in 1983, which looked nothing like the Soviet. It's like a sort of like stereotypical, everything is gray, everybody is wearing their fur hats and is always like, that was not the Soviet Union at all. And it was a good film, like I enjoyed it, but I think it was like over the top caricature, and there's KGB chasing the guy who invented Tetris, and the Dutch guy who in the end bought the rights and everything. It was a good film, but it's like so over the top. But yeah, I actually, after watching it, I downloaded Tetris.
Yeah. But going back to The Last of Us, I thought, for me, not playing the game, watching it as a TV show, I thought it was well produced and directed, and lots of nice scenes, and the video effects were good, and so I thought that was quality. So it didn't really bother me that it didn't actually match the game perfectly. But to watch it on the TV, it didn't look like a cheap version of something just to take people from one genre to another. So yeah, I thought it was good, and they must have spent a fortune making it. I mean, all those cars wrecked and buildings upside down, and that was very good.
That's CGI. That's CGI, so that's on a blue screen. That's not real buildings. I mean, they did have certain set designs where they're walking on planks and stuff, but the buildings were not real.
But I think it was really well done, and I think what they would what as I think as we all said earlier, like it felt a bit disjointed towards the end, and I said my biggest complaint is that it's very much like segmented. Like each episode towards the end felt like its own thing. If they were to, I think they are going to. They've already said they're going to do another one based on part 2 or a second season. They haven't actually said if it's based on part 2. I assume it would be. It's like the game is double the size of that first series, of that first game, and it's a lot more. That story is a lot more disjointed. By the nature of the game itself, is a lot more disjointed. So, how a second season would be, I'm not entirely sure. I think it probably wouldn't work as well because it is a lot of jumping back and forward, Sorry, I don't think. And I think it will be too overly long, or it will be cut down too much, because that is a long game, the second one. So, the season was well produced. The story was it hit the main beats. It did what it needed to do. Overall, I enjoyed it quite a lot, but there are some creative decisions there that I was kind of not. I would question. That's my kind of takeaway from it.
What did I just do? I didn't mean to do that.
Settings up.
Whoops. No, I was meant to share this. Well, I meant to share this. Not us. This. Why is it not sharing? Can you see it?
The giraffe scene?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is quite interesting how they filmed the giraffe.
With a real giraffe.
I got it, yeah. Oh my God, he's smiling.
I didn't know that there was going to be a robot talking.
It's really odd because you would think that doing it like everything with a real giraffe would be the more difficult thing, like CGI to giraffe and be done with it. But they like blue screened everything, but they used a real giraffe, which I think works better. But it was just not something I was expecting.
Yeah, it looked good.
Wait, I need to quickly, before we finish, I need to do the daddy thing.
I also think that everyone sees Pedro Pascal a little bit too, because he's always so happy and chipper in real life. I think the reason he doesn't show a lot of emotion when he's doing the show is because he kind of breaks the immersion of it a little bit.
Yeah.
He's a very, like, if I had a party, I definitely want him at my party.
He's got a very, almost like a very, he's very expressionate in a goofy kind of way. It's quite funny.
Is it still sharing?
It's buffering.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. No sound, but it's sharing.
Yeah, seeing those first that little clip with Ted and Ellie doing the little clicker impression and stuff like that, I was just remembering, yeah, those first few episodes were really good.
He's so different, like in real life from Joel.
He's a much more. He's a much.
Okay, I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna quit this, and we can not stop sharing Anna. But I think that's what makes it great too, is because the actor is just so camp. I'm sorry, he is. He's so campy. He's so like fruity. He's so, he's the kind of guy that would get up on the table and twerk. And that's so cool. And then he's playing this tough guy. So I do like the fact that they chose him. I think that's one of the first things that I said to you. It's like, oh my god, I'm watching episode 1. I love Pedro Pascal as Joel. Like, I absolutely love him as Joel. With Bella Ramsey, I did like her in the beginning, and then I don't know whether it was something changed. I wonder who they're gonna cast as who for season 2.
Yeah, there's people been. I think the internet has suggested one person particular. I can't remember who it was.
Yeah.
It's not the easiest role to cast for, I'd imagine. It's very particular.
No, because you got that is, I think, one of the most hated characters ever, and there are reasons why. Again, like you were saying before, nobody's good or bad. Everybody has levels of goodness or evilness to them. But to me, like, I cannot get over that. That to me, that what happens because she is responsible for no. No.
But she's not wrong in doing it. That's the thing. Yes.
I would disagree with you. I think and I think that's the whole point of the moral of the story of the second game is revenge doesn't get you anywhere.
Yes, but I think that certain people in that game learn that lesson much quicker, and then certain people just can't let certain things go in a way where you're trying to beat around the bush here. Like it's a difficult position to be in. Like revenge just leads to more revenge and things like
that. This is Dad, do you care? Can we spoil it for you? You've muted yourself.
That's not too bad. I've only done that once in the last 80 odd minutes, so normally somebody does it. I'm supposed to be quite good at this. No, I'm not too worried. You know what my memory is like anyway. I'll probably forget.
Yes. Basically what happened.
So spoilers here for Last of Us Part 2. Just maybe put something in the video to like a bookmark or something.
Yeah, how do we do that? You talk, I do.
No, I don't know. We can always just. I don't know. If they've been watching.
If you don't want to know the scores, look away now, right?
Yeah, I think we've given our opinion on the show, and people know where we stand.
Yeah, okay, let's not spoil it. No, not going to. But it's your audio now. Your output is coming out through your speakers. But it's cool. So I do recommend that people watch The Last of Us just for acting, production value, set design, all of that is very good. The story itself is interesting, but I would much rather everybody played the game. So
that's what I was going to say. I recommend people go play the game. That's my recommendation.
Yeah,
it has been for the last 10 years. I mean, it came out in 2013. Just been re-released. Being re-released again on PS5. I played a little bit today. I'm up to. So Ellie's just been taken hostage by David. So Joel's just woken up. That's where I'm up to. So, and like a good chunk into the game, looking forward to wrapping it up.
And Dad, are you gonna?
I'm going to certainly say I'm not going to play the game, but I am going to say it's worth watching the series. So and you can even watch them in a different order, and it doesn't really matter. Yeah, so try and watch episode 1 and 2 first, I think, and then you can probably mix and match, and then leave episode 9 to the end. So.
Okie dokie. But yeah, if you get a chance, do watch Tetris. I enjoyed it. It was fun. It was good. It's a good background story to how Tetris is such a. Well, you don't think about it. It's such a dumb game. It's like, but it's so addictive.
That's the thing. Like it's a weird thing because the background story to Tetris is interesting. Is it interesting enough for a documentary or a film about it? They may have to embellish some stuff, which is what it sounds like they have done.
Trust me, Michael. People wrote books on the development of computers that have been out defunct for 30 years, and they talked about how the companies worked and how they did it. So it's an intrigue, and people did videos or films on how Facebook came about and the people fighting each other and suing each other. So yeah, there's always a group of people who want to know the history, if you like, of some of these things. And in those days, Tetris was the most advanced computer game going, I think. So wasn't such a great invention as the Rubik Cube. That was pretty good when that came along. So.
But the thing with Tetris is that people can instantly get Tetris and understand what it is. Rubik's Cube is something that's, you can sit down, you can learn the algorithm, you can learn it. I think you can learn the algorithm to do it like in a matter of hours, and then you can just do it in minutes. But Tetris is appealing because the goal is so simple, but the challenge is still there, and it's fantastic.
Time thing, and people still play it today, right?
Yeah, I've played Tetris on Xbox and things like that. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I don't. Can I show trailers?
You should be able to, yeah.
No, because it's a trailer, right? So I can do that. So this is going to be before we stop.
Is it on Apple TV?
It's on Apple TV, but I'm doing it through YouTube.
Okay.
So can you see it? Hello?
Yeah,
it's a picture, nothing moving. Yeah, that's moving now.
I don't think the audio is going to come through though.
Oh, really? There's no audio.
No.
Really? Why is there no audio? Can you, Michael?
Sometimes when you share screens, you have to separate and turn the audio on separately. I think you do. No, it's to do with the way your Well, I don't know this platform so well, but other ones you have to share the audio before you show the video.
Switched on. Audio is switched on.
When you share screens, sometimes in other platforms, you have to share the audio first and then you share the video. It doesn't quite work the same way. Anyway, no matter.
Anyway, watch it if you can. It's a good film. So it's Easter. I still don't know where you got all of those eggs from. Why do you have so? How are they hanging even?
Like some sort of like all mini Easter tree.
What is that? It's so weird. You're muted. You've muted yourself.
Yeah, sorry. We even had Easter crackers on Friday evening, so that's not very religious, is it? But there you go.
No, I don't understand what he's doing there. Okay, so one, and I'm kind of like deflated. I don't even want to talk about it anymore. I'm done with it. Still, Pedro Pascal and my non-existent arm. He's a cutie patootie. Bella Ramsey, get out of the picture. But yeah, no. I'm done. I have nothing else to say about the show. I'm just gonna go back to playing the game.
Okie dokie. Well, I hope my contributions were totally useless and you can show that you never invited anybody over the age of 30, 35 on a show like this. But anyway, thanks very much for inviting me, and I wouldn't have watched it otherwise, so you made me watch it and it wasn't bad, I have to say. Yeah, I quite enjoyed it.
Thank you for watching it, for being on.
No problem.
You were around a lot and traveling and everything, so I
think it worked really well with having someone with perspective that didn't know what was going to happen. They went, you went through the whole thing not knowing what was going on, and kind of as the story, as you are supposed to experience the story. Like, obviously, me and Anna knew exactly what was going to happen. It's kind of, there's something you lose something in that process. So it's been interesting to get your perspective and initial reactions from it all. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun talking about it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Happy Easter.
And happy Easter to everybody. I hope we don't got the last of this anymore.
All right. Bye.
Bye.